In this webinar, I will be discussing a few of the telehealth regulations counselors may encounter in working remotely with clients. While the popularity of telehealth services has grown in recent years, its use in mental health actually dates back several decades. In terms of internet based service delivery, the advent of online mental health treatment began in 1995. Technological advances have helped the field grow exponentially, and the potential to increase access to those individuals who are most in need of services contribute to its broadening acceptance. Today, telehealth is seen as a key contributor to achieving universal health coverage by improving client access to quality, cost-effective mental health services wherever they may be located. As such, telehealth is a particularly valuable resource for those in remote areas, vulnerable groups, and aging populations. So, what is telehealth? The term can be quite generic and refer to a host of services and delivery methods. In a 2007 study, the World Health Organization noted a lack of consensus among healthcare providers as to what telehealth services were. The absence of clarity made it difficult to track trends and usage statistics. In a 2016 report, the World Health Organization defined telehealth as healthcare services that use telecommunications and virtual technology to deliver healthcare outside of traditional healthcare facilities. These technologies include video conferencing, the internet, store and forward imaging, streaming media, and both terrestrial and wireless communications. In their definition, the World Health Organization differentiated between telehealth and telemedicine to account for the broader scope of remote healthcare services, for example, counseling and mental health services, being provided using online mediums. Telehealth encompasses a variety of professional activities. In addition to direct client care, mental health providers use telehealth to engage in all components of their clinical work. Specifically, we see several instances of how online technology is being used to facilitate counseling, supervision, and consultation. For the purposes of this webinar, we will look at counseling being a professional relationship that empowers diverse individuals, families, and groups to accomplish mental health, wellness, education, and career goals. We will define supervision as a contracted, hierarchical relationship between two or more professionals. The intended focus of supervision is on the augmentation of a supervisee's professional services. And consultation will refer to the deliberate agreement between two or more professionals to work together to increase the effectiveness of professional services in relation to a specific individual, be that a client, student, or supervisee. Whether providing counseling, seeking supervision, or engaging in a consultative relationship, your interactions can occur in one of two primary ways. With face-to-face services, there is a synchronous or real-time interaction occurring. These interactions are live and capture in-the-moment responses to what is being seen and heard in the session. Sometimes, real-time meetings are not possible. In these instances, distance professional services may be used. These services include the use of electronic means to provide services such as counseling, supervision, consultation, or education. Distance professional services can be delivered both synchronously and asynchronously. A benefit of asynchronous activities is that they allow individuals to access content on demand. There are 5 primary telehealth modalities. Each has its own unique strengths and weaknesses. Clinicians should consider the appropriateness of each modality when working with clients. In all cases, technology should not stand as an additional source of distress for clients, nor emerge as a barrier to effective treatment. Telephone-based services refer to the synchronous distance interaction in which information is received only through audio means. In a therapeutic relationship, the clinician loses the opportunity to read nonverbal cues. However, this service can help create accountability when used for weekly check-ins. Email-based refers to the asynchronous distance interaction in which information is received through written text messages or email. As you may have experienced, there often is a risk of miscommunication with written text. Individuals may interpret a message or its tone incorrectly. Further, depending on when a recipient reads a sent message, immediacy may be lost. Chat-based refers to the synchronous distance interaction in which information is received through written messages. The real-time communication used in chatting via text at least provides an opportunity to clarify or ask follow-up questions. With video-based modalities, the parties involved are able to communicate in real time with both visual and auditory cues. There are several video-based platforms now available for clinicians to use. Some are HIPAA compliant, others are not. I will provide a list of platforms later in this webinar. When video-based technology is working, it provides a reasonable replication of an in-person session with clients. When using video-based platforms, it is important to address ground rules and maintain professionalism. Remember, there is another person on the other end of the call, and they potentially can see and hear what you are doing were you to forget the microphone and camera are engaged. Finally, social network-based modalities allow interaction to occur through use of social media platforms. There are privacy issues involved, and knowing who is on the other end of the conversation can be challenging. But the ubiquitous nature of social media makes it a readily available and accessed platform clinicians can use to connect with others. This table breaks down the various types of synchronous, asynchronous, and telephonic services you as a mental health provider may utilize in your telehealth practice. Understanding the terminology will help you communicate with others, be they clients or other professionals, in a manner appropriate for the intended purpose of your relationship. As I mentioned earlier, One of the advantages of telehealth is its ability to reach people where they are. Texas is a large state. Although we have some of the largest metropolitan areas in the United States, there are a lot of rural communities where a robust presence of mental health services is absent. In this map, taken from 2019, you see that there are very few parts of the state where a sufficient mental health service infrastructure exists. In fact, nearly every county, including all the counties here in South Texas, are designated as mental health provider shortage areas. Telehealth may be the key to reaching those individuals who otherwise would not be able to access the mental health services they need. Should you or your facility look into providing telehealth services, there are some issues to explore to ensure you do so in a legal, ethical, and competent manner. In addition to providing services to remote rural areas, the use of telehealth services can be beneficial to promoting public safety. The COVID-19 pandemic has placed a premium on social distancing and dramatically altered the way we engage with others. For individuals in need of behavioral health care services, telehealth represents a safe alternative. Like we would do with any treatment approach, it is imperative to gauge the appropriateness of a modality for use with an intended recipient, be it a client, family, group, supervisee, or consultee. The benefits of using an approach should always outweigh the drawbacks or risks. As a clinician, it is important to remember that our traditional practice standards and regulations apply when using telehealth services. The use of distance professional services is not a separate practice area. As such, our licensing board statutes apply whether we provide services in person or online. Further, the standards requiring clinicians to practice within the boundaries of their competence and to receive appropriate training and supervision when using a novel approach still apply. This map shows how each state treats the provision of telehealth services from a regulatory perspective. The states shaded in blue are states that do not have any regulations specific to the provision of telehealth services, be they synchronous or asynchronous in nature. The states shaded in green are the states that do have regulations on the books that address distance-based telehealth services. As you can see, Texas is one of these states. In Texas, licensed professional counselors, for example, are bound to a code of ethics. This code specifies that technological means can be used to facilitate the therapeutic counseling process so long as the provider abides by all other rules governing their practice are followed. Similar regulations exist for other mental health providers, such as psychologists, social workers, and marriage and family therapists. While there is no legal certification requirement to perform telehealth sessions, many professional behavioral health associations, such as the American Psychological Association, the National Association of Social Workers, and the American Counseling Association, emphasize that competence, which demands adequate training, is essential for the ethical provision of telehealth services. As such, several voluntary certifications are available to provide clinicians the training needed to effectively deliver distance professional services. These credentials can also demonstrate to clients your competence in this new service delivery approach. One such credential is the board certified telemental health certification provided by the Center for Credentialing and Education, the certification partner of the National Board for Certified Counselors, or NBCC. This new credential will be replacing the former Distance Credentialed Counselor certification, CCE, previously provided. While distance credentialed counselors will retain their certification status, the new board certified telemental health certification will be the credential moving forward. To qualify for this certification, an individual must first be a nationally certified counselor or a state licensed mental health provider. In addition to holding the appropriate licensure or certification, candidates for the board certified telemental health provider credential must complete an approved training course and successfully pass an examination. The CCE website lists approved training providers and the courses they offer. Each program must contain content in the following areas: Introduction to Telemental Health, Presentation Skills for Telemental Health, HIPAA Compliance for Telemental Health, Crisis Planning and Protocols in Video Telemental Health, Best Practices in Video Telemental Health, Care Coordination in Telemental Health Settings, Orienting Clients to Telemental Health, Direct to Consumer Telemental Health, Choosing and Using Technology in Telemental Health. Another option is the training and certification offered through PESI. PESI is a nonprofit organization located in Wisconsin. Since 1979, they have been providing cutting-edge continuing education to professionals across the United States. Their services include both live seminars and a robust digital library. In February of this year, they developed a 12-hour certification training for mental health professionals who were new to the provision of telemental health services. Earlier this year, PESI was offering this training free of cost, as many clinicians were struggling to provide services for their clients in a safe way. Individuals interested in this training should inquire of promotional codes still available for use when purchasing a training program. The Zur Institute has been providing continuing education content since 1995 and is an approved CE provider for all the major mental health professions. The Telehealth certificate is a 24 credit hour program that covers 4 basic areas: legal and ethical issues, practical applications and technological issues, digital and social media ethics, and developing skills for effective video therapy. The content of this training was developed and produced through a collaboration between the Zur Institute and the publishing house Taylor and Francis. These training programs all emphasize the ethics that are involved in working in telemental health. A search of 3 databases, PubMed, PsycInfo, and Web of Science, was conducted in August 2019 using a specific search protocol yielding 249 publications. In these citations, there were 24 ethical arguments in favor of online psychotherapy and 32 against. The top 5 ethical arguments in favor of online psychotherapy were increased access to psychotherapy and service availability and flexibility, therapy benefits and enhanced communication, advantages related to specific client characteristics, for example, those in remote locations, convenience, satisfaction, acceptance, and increased demand, and finally, economic advantages. The top 5 ethical arguments against engagement in online psychotherapy were privacy, confidentiality, and security issues, therapist competence and need for special training, communication issues specific to technology, research gaps, and strategies or best practices in managing emergency issues. These 2 links take you to recent articles written on the ethical practice of telehealth. They describe some of the methods that clinicians can use to ensure that they are working with their clients in an ethical fashion. As I mentioned earlier, there are several video-based platforms used in telehealth service delivery. Some of these platforms are HIPAA compliant. Others are not. You should determine which platform is best for you and your clients. When there are issues that relate to confidentiality and privacy, share them with the client. All parties should be on the same page with the advantages and disadvantage of the technological medium being used to facilitate the delivery of behavioral health care. As a provider, there are protections for you in your use of telehealth modalities. Across the country, the COVID-19 pandemic has in many cases necessitated a rapid shift in service delivery approaches. Practitioners and agencies have adopted some form of telehealth services to continue providing services to their clients. As these mental health professionals strive to provide some semblance of continuity of care to their clients, a fair amount of learning on the fly has been occurring. Fortunately, the government recognizes this issue. During the pandemic, the Office for Civil Rights at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services announced that the penalties levied for HIPAA violations were being relaxed as more and more providers shift to telehealth services. You can read more about this ruling by clicking on the link provided in the slide. Finally, telehealth services appear to be the future of our profession. While I do not believe they will completely replace face-to-face therapeutic sessions, I do see them as opening access to a larger group of people and allowing counselors to triage issues of a non-emergent nature. As such, they likely will play an integral role in what behavioral health care looks like for years to come. When considering whether to engage in telehealth, there are some items to consider. Most notably, you should factor in the client's ability and familiarity with technology. If clients are not familiar with technology, the hassle and stress of using it may diminish the effectiveness of the counseling relationship. Second, you should confirm the client's identity and location. This is especially important when dealing with clients where there may be an SI or HI risk. Third, you should obtain phone numbers to reach your clients in case of technology or communication failure. Being able to adapt to a plan B when technology fails is a good approach to consider because failures will occur. Fourth, obtain the client's consent to participate in telehealth. Do not assume that the client is willing and able to consent the same as they may have done earlier for traditional face-to-face sessions. And finally, arrange for any medically necessary monitoring and follow-up. In an integrated care model, ensure the client is able to meet with the next professional involved in their care, and all relevant case information is shared among providers. As you venture into a practice setting where telehealth will be used to interact with clients, remember the importance of seeking training and skill development before using these approaches with your clients. While there are no current licensures or certifications required to practice telehealth, taking advantage of the training opportunities discussed in this webinar may be advantageous for you and the clients you serve. Should you have any questions about the content of this webinar, please let us know in the Tex-CHIP office, and we will be glad to answer your questions. Thank you for your time,